right, so we'll start the session while other people are just joining in. So, hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. Once again, I would like to thank all the participants for joining in today, taking the time out from their busy weekends and joining in. So, special thanks to all of you. So today we have Mr. Ajim Ahmed from LIC Mutual Fund. So we've invited him. So today we'll talk to him and understand more about what is his outlook of the equity markets and also try and understand that how is he managing public money. So just to give you introduction, Ajim has over 20 years of experience, especially in the area of investments on the equity side, and currently he's heading a PMS vertical at LIC Mutual Fund. And before that, he used to work for ICICI Securities as head of equities and used to look after the entire PMS portfolio, both discretionary and non-discretionary. So he has worked with a couple of organizations at a different capacity. So he was part of the derivative strategy team. He was heading the a derivative desk as well with ICICI. And so he's an MBA in finance from SP Jain College, and he's also associate company secretary. So welcome on the show of Ask the Expert, Ajim.
Yeah, thanks, Vikas. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Ajim, thank you so much for accepting our request and coming and joining this call on your weekends. So we keep organizing these kind of knowledge-based sessions for our investors. Our mission is to reach out to as many investors as we can and empower them with more knowledge and wisdom. And therefore, we keep inviting domain experts like you every week, and we keep organizing these kind of sessions. So thank you so much for accepting our request.
Yeah, thank you, Vikas, for inviting me. And thank you, AAF PMS Experts India. And more importantly, thanks to all the people who have joined. It's a weekend typically, in this scenario wherein the work from home, work for home is very prominent. So, taking out time in weekends is also becoming, a little difficult. So with the, taking out time itself means that, people are interested in these kind of, products. And this is a good time to actually engage, because looking at the buoyancy of the market and things, it is a good idea to start looking at investments as an option in case people haven't, or if people already have, then maybe they need to recalibrate a little and then start going ahead with the investments.
All right, great. So we'll start the session now. So see, the format of the show is very simple, Ajim. So what we do is essentially we, keep asking some questions on behalf of an investor. So we keep interacting with them, and we keep collecting these questions.
Yeah,
Sometimes these are difficult questions as well. And idea is to exchange more ideas with each other and, share our views. When you say LIC, Ajim, so, LIC is known for their insurance business. They are known for, they're one of the biggest treasury fund in India. I think they've been domestically investing heavily in Indian equity markets. But talk to us about how LIC Mutual Fund is positioned, and talk to us about, since you had the PMS vertical altogether at LIC Mutual Fund. So tell us more about how big is your team and what's the kind of objective that you all carry, and how are you planning to shape up this? If you could throw some more lights on that.
yeah. So like you rightly said, moment you hear about LIC, that is a name that is, everybody of us have heard at one time or the other. But investments is one thing. LIC name is still not up there. Like for insurance, obviously we know LIC is one thing that you have to consider, but investments is something that has come to the reckoning only in last 5 to 10 years. So the mutual fund platform, the LIC AMC, the main thrust has been mutual fund, and currently we have close to 18,000 crores of assets under management as LIC AMC. Focus is on equity, debt primarily because of the kind of mandates that we are running. But as we are seeing, more and more people starting to focus on equity investment, equity portion in the mutual fund business is also increasing. And so is the case on products like PMS, where, earlier we had, some institutional debt mandates, but now the focus is also coming on the equity bit for the mutual fund and the PMS. So the way the, the roadmap for the PMS vertical within LIC AMC is that we have already close to 1700 crores of assets, 1650 to be precise. So, and primarily these are institutional mandates from some of the prestigious institutions. And apart from that, there are obviously some equity schemes that are there for the evolved HNI PMS investors. So these are the two areas that we are currently focusing on in terms of the offering that are there from the LIC. And the way we envisage, or the way we want to take this forward also, is to expand our perspective for the equity product offerings that are already being rolled out from the PMS platform, and also look at something on an asset allocation bit, because that is one place where people are still grossly underexposed in terms of maintaining a good allocation between equity, debt, and some alternative like gold or some alternative asset class. So that is what we want to this is how we want to take this PMS vertical also forward, basically to give a good equity exposure, a quality equity exposure portfolio, and B, focus on asset allocation. So these are the this is how we really want to take the PMS perspective forward from LIC standpoint.
Okay, so I'll come to the question straight away. So a lot of questions, feedback from our investors, and they're all curious to know what is your outlook of equity markets, both domestic and globally.
Right. Is my screen visible? The presentation visible?
Just share the screen and then start the presentation.
Yeah. So like the name also suggests, the title is bullish but prone to more volatility. So let me give a perspective, and I think most of us are already are in a kind of situation like this, wherein there is a clear tug of war happening currently, wherein one side of the investors or the traders believe that the greed has gone too much into the nerves, and now it is a time probably market could correct. And then there is another set which is saying that, hang on, central banks are still very active, economy is reviving, so why the worry? As in, even if something bad happens, then there is always the central bank and government who are in control of the game and who can always intervene and save the day for the markets. So there is a clear, this tug of war is happening. The important thing here is to understand the perspective. Perspective at current juncture is very important, because from the March 23rd, 2020 lows of 7,500 on Nifty or on S&P, the lowest number, we are up almost 80%. Look at any equity indices, we are up 80%. So what has happened is, because of this, proactive intermediation by central banks, the kind of liquidity they have poured, the kind of fiscal policy support that the governments have shown, that has already ensured a very strong recovery in the risk assets, especially in the financial markets. Unfortunately, the loss of life is something that is, totally missing from this perspective. But this is how financial markets typically, react. The important thing is that 80% is already in the kitty, as in, already people have pocketed these kind of gains or a fractional of that. And the problem is that now the recency bias is kicking in, wherein you're talking to your friend, you're talking to your next door neighbor, and then people are talking about stock ideas and how you can easily, double your money by some WhatsApp recommendation. The problem here is that typically in any recovery, this is the phase where we call this as a mid-cycle transition, because what typically happens is all the stimulus money, all the central government, central bank or government in power action starts to fade out, and the base effect, which typically helps in creating a much better leverage, also starts to fade out. So in this situation, what really happens is suddenly a lot of good news are already there in the prices, and after this, when the market moves up, it is not a one-way up street for all the stocks. It is not a tandem move the way we have seen in last 6 to 8 months. Few stocks move up, or few stocks say sideways to negative. So what typically we have seen in the recovery of 2009, recovery of 2001, and if you look at the US analog, all the previous recessions also, typically this is the phase which we call it as a mid-cycle transition. The important thing is that bullish sentiment, underlying sentiment is very much strong. So it's not that we are entering into a bear market by any stretch of imagination. The only problem is that easy money is gone. Easy money of making 80% in 15 months, that kind of situation is gone. So what you need to focus from here on is that this is a mid-cycle transition that we are slowly entering into, because the base effects are fading out. Lot of the stimulus and everything is already there in most of the prices. So here the stock selection or your asset allocation becomes increasingly, important. So the way you have to construct your portfolio, or in case you already have a portfolio, then what you need to do is trigger in or build your portfolio in a way that your portfolio is able to weather the volatility that is likely to rise in the coming coming few months. And for this, I'll just quickly take you through the perspective, because the bullish analog is something that we keep on hearing. It will be a very important thing to understand why volatility also is something that people should keep back in mind. I'll just take 2 minutes to explain this. So this is basically what it is the kind of the liquidity that is there in the US markets, because these are, uh, prima facie or de facto the market of the the world. Wherever S&P or Dow reacts, this is how the global markets also typically react in the long run. So what we have seen over a period of time is that as more and more money is coming into these kind of markets, lot of these quantitative strategies and lot of these systematic strategies have gone into play. So much so that 50% of the US market and a better part of Indian market is also getting controlled by these kind of strategies. What really is happening because of this is, as visible in this particular chart, is that every time the liquidity or the volatility moves up. So this is a chart on the, if the values are moving from left to right, as you can see, this means that volatility is increasing. So if the value is increasing from 20 to 40, it means the volatility index is moving to from 20 to 44. So if you look at this perspective, it is showing the liquidity, which is the blue dots. So every time the market is moving, the volatility is increasing, the liquidity is going down, which means that every time you are in a situation wherein you want to liquidate your portfolio, you're not finding liquidity in the market. And this, by the way, is the most liquid market globally. S&P, mini contracts, or the S&P contracts are one of the most liquid contracts in the world, and they are facing this problem. The same thing is happening in most of the global markets, and even in India. If I have to give you that perspective, that trend is already shaping up. So what typically people show you in the media is that volatility index, India volatility index, is trading at 12, or it's trading at a multi-year low. But the problem is that is the implied volatility. Implied volatility meaning what the option prices are indicating. But there is another concept which is called realized volatility, which is what you are actually realizing based on the current portfolio, current option variables and current market closing. So if you start looking at that perspective, then you will see two charts. One is the yearly chart that is in the top column on the upper half of the PowerPoint. It is clearly showing that this realized volatility trend is moving up, meaning that actual volatility is much higher than what is being implied by the VIX index. And if you look at on a quarterly basis, this is showing that in last 3-4 months, this has been seeing a more sharper rise. This means one simple thing, that is that all the stocks that they were moving in one unique direction, now some stock will move other direction, some stocks will move up, some will move down, some will move sideways. So this is a kind of dispersion that we are going to see in the coming time, and this typically happens when the mid-cycle transition happens. So this is the limited point I wanted to communicate about the market perspective, that we are still in a very bullish trend. The only thing is that you need to be now more or be cognizant of the kind of volatility structure that we are heading into. So that's why any portfolio that you create should be able to A, withstand the volatility constraint, and B, be focused on the cyclical side of the economy, or the part of the stock market that typically do well when the the GDP numbers or the economy starts to expand. So these are the two limited points I wanted to make on the market.
Sure. So when you put money in equity market, so how do you select stocks? So what's your investment philosophy, Azim, when you are looking at identifying stocks, even especially at this juncture?
Correct. Yeah, this is a actually very valid question, because if this is the thing we believe, then how are we implementing it? The way we are implementing it, and the way we would like investors also to look at their portfolios, forget about investing this particular portfolio or not, but the way they should start looking at is that if they have two portfolios which are giving same level of return, and one portfolio is giving the same level of return with a lower risk, that means that portfolio has a better risk adjusted return, or a better, Sharpe ratio, or one of these, technical lingos. The important thing of these kind of portfolios is, or this trait of a portfolio is, that whenever the going is good in the market, like what it is right now, it gives you a kind of complete participation. And every time the market tanks or market falls or shows a volatile trend, if the market is falling say 10% or 15%, then these kind of risk adjusted strategies typically fall lesser. So if market is falling 15%, this will fall 7 or 8%. So on a complete cycle, that is the up move and the down move, you will find that these kind of strategies are the ones which are giving investor a very, comfortable or a stable feel of the market. And this is what we are practicing in our equity portfolio and in our multi-asset portfolio, wherein what we are saying is that everybody says that, we look at the risk adjusted return, but the way we have constructed our portfolio is that in our, this creation of equity portfolio itself, the first level of filtering happened based on the risk adjusted philosophy only then we move to the fundamental traits and the other traits that are, important in portfolio creation. Something similar is also there for the multi-asset approach, wherein when we are mix between equity, fixed income, and the alternates, we look at this risk adjusted philosophy again, and only then, carve out a portfolio which does well in a complete cycle, because we are selling a portfolio management service product, we are not selling a trading product. So there is a very clear differentiation between the two. What I am trying to make is a portfolio that is a less volatile portfolio, a boring portfolio, so to say. But this is a portfolio which will, tend to generate a higher return in a 3 to 5 year, time span, which is what typically most investors, should be positioning their mindset, especially considering that we are in a mid-cycle transition. Uh, so this is how, you should look at. And if I have to just, continue on this particular point only, how we position this in our thinking is that we, if you look at from earning standpoint, we think that uh, current EPS of Nifty is close to 515 or thereabouts. We are, factoring in a CAGR of almost 24% for next 2 years. So we are working with the 800 kind of EPS number that will be driven by auto space, which has a good, base effect that is likely to play out. The financial space being the index component, that will also fire, good. And the infra and the cyclical side will also do well. So when we are, so this is our active thinking that is telling us to be overweight this. But what we are doing is, with this active thinking, we are overlaying it with our volatility mindset, that whatever I do, if I am getting into these kind of names, then I should keep a lid on the volatility parameter that most of the people miss out when they are constructing the portfolio.
Okay, so you also talked about risk adjusted returns. So, just wanted to know if you could throw some more lights in terms of how do you manage this, create these sort of risk adjusted returns and create additional alpha.
Yeah. So the way these kind of, concepts we are implementing in our product is that if I have to give you an equity example of our, there is one product, one PMS that I want to talk about is the Factor Advantage PMS. This particular PMS has been built along with MSCI for their, insights on the risk weighted methodology concept and their expertise in the global market. So what we typically do along with MSCI is that we decide a target universe of, NSE 500. We decide 350 stocks are the ones where we want to focus on. We don't want to go too much lower in liquidity or into very small, small cap kind of proposition for this particular product. So what we do as step one with MSCI is that we construct or we formulate a strategy in which we look at stocks that have shown a very resilient performance. And then along with that, what we do is put some quantitative variables to just give you, throw in some numbers. What we do is People look at standard deviation to understand the volatility. What we have done is refined our approach of the standard deviation or the volatility, the way people look at it. And we have decided certain thresholds for the positive volatility and certain thresholds for the negative volatility. So what we do with this exercise with MSCI is we look at these, reference frame, and from a 350 stock universe, we drill down to a 35 stock universe. And from there on, we construct the stock portfolio. So when we are getting the first laundry list of the 35 stocks, these are the stocks which tend to do well in they have a good, price performance on the up market. And even in the down market, the drawdowns are lower. This is very different from a momentum strategy or the factor strategy that people talk about, because here there are few other factors also that go into along with this. For the lack of time, I don't want to get too technical on this, but typically this is how the first level of portfolio is created. And after
But I
that,
think
obviously,
just sorry to interrupt. One more question, subsequent question on that. So some of our investors may not be so familiar with MSCI index, how it is constructed. So if you could just give them understanding about that first, and then talk about, the
yeah,
selection process.
right. So for the perspective, MSCI, as you may or may not know, is one of the largest index providers globally. Has almost $13 trillion of funds that are tracking MSCI indices. So these guys are expert in providing these kind of methodologies that are being used globally. So what we have done is use one of their methodology that they were using for one of their largest index based in US and other markets, and adopted that in Indian market. So what we are doing essentially from MSCI is getting that know-how and applying that on Indian market. So what really they are giving us is the understanding of how they were using in global market, that we have curated and applied in the Indian market. So like I told you, what typically happens at this stage is MSCI creates a 35 stock index based on this methodology and with the modification that are given from our side. And that index is what that becomes our benchmark. And from that 35 stock portfolio, we curate a 18 stock or a 20 stock portfolio based on the market sentiment that we are looking at. We decide a more focused portfolio from there on.
Okay, so you'd like to run any presentation for both your offerings? If you could share more in detail, or
yeah. Little bit I've already explained in terms of factor advantage PMS, that is we have done along along with MSCI. And the important thing here is to understand why this product is suitable for anyone. Forget about this being a new offering. Is it really worthwhile for you? So I will just talk about the key differentiating points, and then you can decide whether this product is suitable for you or not. So basically what is there in the current market is that if you look at the performance of all the mutual funds or PMSs right now, most of them are able to outperform Nifty or NSE 500. But if you go back 1 year also, you will suddenly see that most of the funds were not able to perform well. So typically what happens is that in an uprising market, because most of the portfolios are running with a higher beta level, they are able to generate a better return. But in a negative return market, when the markets are falling, then that typically becomes a problem, as in that there is a stronger drag on the portfolio also. So what we are doing as stage one or step one is ensuring that our returns are very close to the market return. When I say market return, it is the MSCI risk weighted 35, or if you want to use a parlance which is more understandable, then it is NSE 200. So this portfolio returns will be very close to the NSE 200 return. So that is point number one that we have ensured in this portfolio. The second thing that we have ensured in this particular PMS is that we are using a flexi cap approach. In fact, flexi cap is a better name, because we are very agnostic to the large cap, mid cap, or small cap. What we are saying is based on the risk assessment or the risk parity methodology, whichever part of the market is doing well, that is where we want to be focused on. So currently in our portfolio, the weightage of mid cap and small cap put together is close to 35%. So we are kind of overweight, but back in 2020, based on the back testing, that is, we were overweight in the large cap, and our 85% portfolio was there in Nifty 100 itself. So the second benefit is this is a multi-cap approach. And the third one is obviously because we are using risk weighted methodology as a step one. So it's a very systematic process. So any of my biases or a fund manager's bias that typically, gets into a portfolio, maybe in terms of focusing on quality stocks or value stocks, or maybe on growth or defensive. So all these biases are something that are culled out, because in the step one itself, I'm cutting down my portfolio universe to a 35 stock portfolio, which are doing well on a volatility score basis. And if you look at the portfolio also, you will get the kind of names that most of us are very comfortable with. So these are the 3-4 points based on which this particular, PMS is designed. And if I have to, just quickly run you through, because typically these are the kind of things investors do want to know, as to, tell me how this is constructed. So the way, like I have already explained a little bit, is that we look at a 350 stock universe. On that, we apply our proprietary, risk weighted methodology. From there, we move to step two, wherein what we look at is look at the factor based assessment, whether we want to be overweight large cap, mid cap, small cap, or we want to be overweight on particular cyclical factor, or a value factor. And after that, we go one level down. And this is what every, fund house or a PMS house does, is look at and evaluate the fundamentals. When we are looking at fundamentals, we clearly want to be in a quality stock portfolio. Sounds little cliched, because most of the people do talk about it, but the way we differentiate ourselves is that we come to it at the third level and not at the first level. So in first two level itself, I'm ensuring my volatile portfolio is able to withstand a negative kind of market scenario. And when I'm looking at fundamentals also, the focus is on companies with a sorry, companies with a higher return on equity than the cost of capital. That is a paramount thing that we want in our entire portfolio. So in terms of ROE, the products, the stocks that you look at in our portfolio will be much more, strong. And also what we are looking at, even though this is a new trend that is developing, but we are also looking at the ESG framework to decide the final, portfolio of the stock. So in our portfolio, there will be no stock which will be double B, less than double B on the ESG score also. So that is a concept that is picking up pace fast, especially with this COVID backdrop. These things are even more, strongly pushing up. And then at the last stage, once this is constructed, this portfolio is rebalanced or, reviewed on a regular basis based on the market condition. So this is, the typical cycle that is there in this, particular PMS. It is a very differentiated product, and because this is based on certain formula, then you can actually backtest this kind of use strategy. So you would see that in any year, including the COVID crash, this product has done well over a period of time. And if I have to show you year on year, like I was talking about, whenever the market is negative, if you pick up 2008 or maybe 2011, so when market was falling 40-45%, this was falling 30% or lesser than that. And whenever the market is rising, it is able to give you that complete participation. So this is the limited point that I wanted to make about this product. It's a very differentiated product, especially on the PMS platform, because they are, I'm sure Vikas, you would have seen there are more than 300 PMSs already on the platform, and almost all of them are bottom-up stock selection portfolios. I'm not saying these are wrong. That's a wrong methodology. It is the right methodology. But because everybody is trying to do the same thing, it is very difficult to generate alpha in the larger part of the market, the NSE 200, where the 85% of the market capitalization is there. So if somebody is focusing on that particular part of the market, he should park some of his portfolio in products like these, because these products tend to do well over a cycle. That is a complete cycle, the bull cycle and the bear cycle. So that's why this kind of stocks or these kind of portfolios should be there in the investor's bouquet.
Yeah. So in case anybody has any questions, please feel free to type your question in Q&A box. Anything if you'd like to know from Azim, maybe market outlook or any particular question. In the meantime, you'd like to run your Bloomberg software and showcase some numbers that you wanted to do, Azim.
I thought, it will be overwhelming. I realized that the kind of numbers that it will throw, it might actually do this service, then service. So let's not look at that point.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
we can probably take questions on this particular, PMS. Like I told you, this PMS is a very differentiated product. It is not a typical bottom up the way you have been seeing on the PMS platform. It is based on the risk adjusted approach. It has a very, scientific concept. And from the inception also, if you look at, this product was launched this year in March, where the market is up almost, I think NSE 200 is up almost 8%. This product is up 6%. So clearly there is a 200 basis point underperformance. I would not, run away from that, but this is what this product will do. Whenever there is a strong uprise in the market, that is the way that we are seeing now, it will be in the top quartile, but it will not be the best performing fund. But whenever the tide turns, that is whenever there is a negative scenario, like in COVID crash, when market tanked 45%, this portfolio was down 22%. So on a complete cycle, somebody who invested in Jan 2020, and if he's holding portfolio till now, he will realize that he's able to get that same NSE 200 kind of returns, which most of the products are, not able to, or finding it difficult to deliver. So that is the, this is how this product is a very different offering on the PMS platform. On the mutual fund platform, there are some funds which are looking at these kind of, focus. But the problem or the differentiation between the mutual fund and PMS bit is that in mutual fund, typically there are 50, 60 stocks, whereas here we are operating with a more concentrated quality 18, 20 stock portfolio.
So you're saying that essentially it will have around 15 to 20 stocks any point of time. Do you
Right.
prefer to take any cash call ever, or the equity mandate is given, then you deploy all the funds?
That's a very interesting question, because this is one thing people are talking about at current level. But our belief is that belief and the experience has been that it is very difficult to time the market. If you ask me what will be the year end level of Nifty, my guess would be definitely more than where we are. But the point is, this is just a guess. So when you are in such a situation where future is always uncertain and it's very difficult to decide where how much should be the allocation, what we do is we don't take a cash call. We do the investment as and when we get the the money flow. And the way the portfolio is constructed is, it's every time it's looking at that volatility mind frame. So we know that we are already at a very lofty level. So the kind of stocks that might be there in my portfolio, which is contributing almost 50-60% of the weight, are the stocks which will do well, or which will not fall that much even in a falling market. To give you an example, a stock like TCS sounds little cliched, but you will see that this is a typical tendency these tech stocks depict. A stock like NTPC, again a very a dull or a boring stock people might consider, but what these kind of stocks do at such high level of market is, every time there's a drawdown in the market, these stocks tend to provide you stability. And then you have stocks like Schaeffler India, or some of the stocks from cyclical space. I don't want to discuss too much about the stocks, but these stocks will ensure that the alpha generation that is required for the portfolio is also parallelly happening.
The other thing, Ajim, is people are talking about that it's a multi-year bull run kind of scenario, and things are looking absolutely fantastic. The earnings are likely to pick up. So, what is your house views about that?
Yeah, like I told you, our house view is that even we are, a bit on the overall market, even at current level. The only difference is that the better part of the cycle, better part of easy money is gone. So from here on, the way it was there from 2003 to 2008, it was a very strong bull run, as we all remember. But in that bull run also, there were three corrections of between vicinity of 15% to 30%. So we are in that phase. So there will be a continuous rotation. So first thing is setting the perspective. Perspective is that we are in the mid-cycle transition, and in this part of the market, the kind of returns that you can expect from Nifty going ahead could be mid-teens, maybe 15-16%. From an actively managed portfolio of large cap, you can get a 20% return. But the major part will be coming from the mid cap and small cap part. So your portfolio should be focused or positioned in same way, meaning some part or close to 50-60% of the part will continue to be in large cap, maybe the cyclical side of the large cap, overweight positions in auto and banking typically, that will ensure that. And the remaining part, that is the mid cap and the small cap part, there you should be looking at the quality stocks with a very strong financials, not the ones which are highly levered up and are seeing just some recovery because they were so underexposed or underweight. So that is the kind of perspective that you should be carrying it. Basically, it should be a good balance of mid cap and the small cap, or the along with the large cap stocks, with a clear focus on the quality bit. And when I say quality, I'm not implying only the consumption stock, which typically qualifies in the quality bucket, but also look at the financial side and the side that hasn't performed till now, which is the auto space. So overweight stance on auto and banking on the large cap side, and on mid cap and small cap side, the stocks which are which tend to do well when the cycle picks up. Maybe specialty chemical, there is still some juice. Yes, a better part has already happened, but still there is some juice left in some of the names that we can always discuss about. So this is how you typically need to position your portfolio now. Don't get into the early cycle metal plays, or deep value infra companies or defunct companies. Like what we have seen in last a few weeks is the ADAG group stocks have increased their market capitalization to 10,000 crore out of nowhere. So these are the kind of things are fancy, sounds interesting, but these are the kind of trades that you should start avoiding from here on. And you should now look at this mid-cycle transition by focusing on banking, financials, autos, and quality that is there in some of the MNC pharma and the bigger IT names. So this is a typical way that you can even at current levels construct a portfolio.
Okay, so a couple of questions from some investors. So first question comes from Prateek. How frequently is your factor model readjusted? Because that defines your universe.
Yeah, again, a very valid question. So what we do is we rebalance this on a 6-month basis. So we rebalance our portfolio in May and November. It is predefined, little counterintuitive, because people think that how can you time the market? What if market crashes sometime else? But what we have seen is that every time the market crashes or market falls, or there's a big level of volatility, people react, and when they react is actually the wrong time to change the portfolio. Just to give you an example, when a COVID crash happened, everybody suddenly reduced their banking financial positions to a very low underweight. But if you look at the kind of returns that that particular space has generated from March end till now, you will see it has generated one of the highest returns. So typically reacting to what has already happened is something that is not a good idea. So we are rebalancing our portfolio on a May and November basis, simply because we have seen on a different simulations that if I have to do this rebalancing, net of cost, net of transaction cost, I should be able to give a client a better return. So it turns out that a 6-month rebalancing with a May and November as months is the one which is most appropriate for this rebalancing. And this rebalancing is tied up with the MSCI rebalancing that happens for their global indices. So we are not impacted by the kind of volatility these kind of events typically create, because we are also part of that. So we act early when we get to know the info.
So is your factor model superior to Nifty Alpha Low Volume 30 Index?
No, not at all. Nifty Alpha Low Volatility 30 was in fact PMS that I was running when I was in ICICI Securities, that also did well. It had a focus on alpha, that is higher risk adjusted return by looking at standard deviation, but it also had a focus on alpha. So it was also capturing 50% momentum. Here in this particular product, we are not focusing on momentum. What we are focusing on a simple risk adjusted approach, and also we are overlaying that with a factor which is inverse of size, meaning if we are including a stock in our portfolio, and that stock happens to have be from a mid cap or a small cap universe, then the weight of that particular stock will be higher than the large cap stock, which is again little counterintuitive. But the way this this is how this is differentiated from Nifty Alpha Low Volatility 30. In Nifty Alpha Low Volatility 30, they are looking at 50% standard deviation, 50% alpha. Here we are looking predominantly at the risk weighted index, which is topped up by the other two, variables, which is the size factor and the quality factor.
Okay, next question is, should we invest during these volatile markets, or we should book some profits and come out?
Yeah, again, a very valid question. So the answer here is that depends on your time horizon. So if you bought a particular stock with a 20% mindset and you're getting that 15 or 18%, it may be worthwhile to book positions. But if you had done an investment, say this year, because most people started investing only, after better part of the recovery happened. So what you need to do is that if any part of your portfolio has done phenomenally well, you can look at part or booking of the profit. But what you really need to do as we speak is that whenever this bout of volatility comes, you have to increase your allocation to the cyclical side of the market, which is, basically that will gain from the overall revival in the economy. So like I told you, your exposure to BFSI in whenever this bout of volatility is seen, maybe Jackson Hole in August is something that can trigger that perspective. That should be the time to increase your portfolio there. So what you are doing here is that if you are investing, you're booking profit in one of some of the propositions where you've already made a very handsome gain, and then using the same money to position for a cyclical revival, which is what typically happens in a mid-cycle transition, which I've been talking about. That typically market continues to be that in the bullish phase, but the more stocks from banking, more stocks from cyclical, more stocks from infra space or the auto space starts to do well. So you need to recalibrate your portfolio whenever this bout of volatility is seen in the market.
Next question is, so what is the kind of potential downside this portfolio can have in terms of drawdown?
Yes. So this is the beauty of this particular, product. As you can see on this particular, graph as well, the magnitude of drawdown, the maroon lines that are there in the graph and in the chart, the the extreme left column, you will see that whenever the markets are falling, the magnitude of drawdown in these particular strategies is much lower. So the way the market is positioned currently is that it is very unlikely, based on the current data set, that market falls a very dramatic 15-20%. 10% is something that can happen, and that will be a healthy thing if it really happens over over a next 3 months or so. But in such a scenario, if there is a 10% kind of decline in the market, so this particular portfolio will be down only 5 or 6%. I'm not saying it will be positive or it will not fall. It will fall, but it will fall lesser, and as a result it will recover also faster, because firstly it is falling less, and typically the stocks that tend to do well when the market recovers from a good profit booking trend is typically your financials and your typical consumption names, which is what is there heavily, which is there in as overweight in this particular portfolio. So we are not envisaging a very meaningful correction, so to say. Correction typically is 20% plus kind of situation, based on the current data set or the current things that we already know, that Fed is about to taper in Jackson Hole. Maybe that can be an announcement, and maybe the COVID mutant is also something that completely we have not our grips on. These are the things which market is already pricing, and the liquidity backdrop is still continuing. So in this scenario, it is very difficult to envisage a scenario that we suddenly see a 20% plus kind of drawdown that happens. For that 20% drawdown to happen, we need something that we already don't know. Maybe something out of the blue has to really strike the financial markets. Right now they are sedated with the kind of liquidity, abundant liquidity, and a very low rate. Everybody is rushing to equity market to generate that extra carry. So that is something that is likely to continue well into 2022 as well. So in case you are planning to invest, it's never too late. It is just that when you're investing in the current at time T, which is today, position your portfolio in such a way that is when you are able to gain from this cyclical revival that happens with the Indian economy and the global economy.
So last question, Jim, before we conclude the session. So what is the kind of alpha that this portfolio can generate over a period of next 10 years?
Right. So a good thing is that you mentioned about 10 years, because 10 years is something that you can actually envisage and think about. So if you look at your returns of Sensex from 1979 to today, so typically the kind of CAGR that it displays is a function of your GDP growth plus inflation. So if you're working with that number, you're coming closer to 12% or thereabouts. Maybe in the current scenario, slightly less because both numbers are a little low. But from a 10-year perspective, because this is a multi-cap, product. So from a 10 years perspective, if the Nifty is giving you 12% or, between 12 to 14%, this kind of product will be able to deliver a 18% kind of return on a 10-year horizon. But obviously there will be years where you will see a negative return as well. That is part and parcel of equity. This is how, equity markets work. But in a complete cycle, like I, suggested initially, uh, on a complete cycle basis, this is the kind of return that you can expect. And as you can see in this, return or this model also, this is what it has been able to deliver if I look at from a historical standpoint as well.
All right. So thank you so much, Azim, for joining the call and answering all the questions so patiently. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants also for joining in. I hope that we are able to answer your questions. In case you have any more questions, please feel free to write to me at vikas@aifpms.com, and I'll ensure that I'll get all your questions answered. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you, Azim, for joining in.
Thanks, Vikas, for hosting us. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe and get vaccinated in case you haven't.